Yes, indeed. Welcome aboard. It is college basketball coast to coast, and we're ready for the mayhem of March, as I like to call it. Welcome to March. Welcome to the 2026 men's NCAA basketball tournament that's about to get underway at 8 different locations on Thursday and Friday. We still have the first 4 in progress right now in Dayton, Ohio. As we do this live on Wednesday, the Miami of Ohio Redhawks are about to play later tonight with SMU, Southern Methodist out of Dallas. We'll see how they do, and then everything gets rolling with 32 games Thursday and Friday. It's great to be back on all the platforms here as we do this on video live on the College Basketball Coast to Coast YouTube page, on the Twitter handle, on Facebook, etc. Also, we replay the show via podcast, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, College Basketball Coast to Coast, and also find us on the TuneIn channel, College Basketball Coast to Coast as well. The shows are going to be streaming there. This preview show will be streaming there. All the coverage, previews, recaps, all the way through the Final Four in Indianapolis, College Basketball Coast to Coast TuneIn channel. So there's various different ways that you can see and hear the show. All right, I am the somewhat capable host, TJ Rives. I've got guests coming up that joined me just a little while ago. Both of them plausibly live, we'll call it. Adam Zagoria of NJ.com will be here to talk a lot of Big East, including St. John's winning the Big East tournament, but then getting only a 5 seed, and not only not getting to play in the Eastern time zone, having to go all the way to San Diego, California. Stay classy, San Diego, to go out and play against Northern Iowa, way out west. We'll let Adam weigh in on that. Adam will be covering the Philadelphia regional, the opening round, which will be taking place on Friday and Sunday, where UConn as the 2 seed. Let me get this straight. UConn didn't win the tournament at the Garden, but they get to be in Philadelphia. St. John's won the regular season, beat UConn 2 of the 3 times they played them, beat them in the championship game. They got to go all the way out to San Diego. Okay, make that make sense. Adam will be there in Philly, and we'll have some thoughts, obviously, on UConn being involved in that game. How damaged is UCLA for this matchup with UCF out of Orlando? So we'll be talking some with Adam about those subjects, the coaching carousel. I know I'm here in the Tampa Bay area, and a lot of people want to know about Brian Hodgson and the USF Bulls getting ready to play Louisville. And is Hodgson about to be a coach somewhere else? He's reportedly turned down the Syracuse Orange. I'm going to talk to Adam about that. Does that mean that he's still staying at USF? We shall see. Bulls and Louisville Thursday in Buffalo. Look forward to that, and we're going to talk more about that game as well with our other guest, Brian Edwards of MajorWager.com. Brian also of the Southeastern 16 video channel with all of their content for the SEC football and basketball teams. He's got a lot of thoughts on Arkansas winning the SEC tournament. Now they're all the way out in Portland. What about an upset-minded team or two, maybe from the SEC, and what will his Florida Gators look like? Brian also has a lot of handicapping and predictions on the early Thursday game. So if you're looking over your bracket and you're trying to figure out where are those double-digit seeds that are going to win, where are the little guys, the small major teams that can pull an upset, we're here for you on College Basketball Coast to Coast, and Brian Edwards will have more a little bit later on in the show after we hear from Adam Zagoria first. Again, thank you for finding us, however you have done so. We appreciate it. As you see on the bottom of the screen, we're coming your way live here on this Wednesday afternoon before the Thursday and Friday games. Here's how you can help out the cause here on College Basketball Coast to Coast. Make sure to subscribe and like the YouTube channel if you're seeing us there. Also, follow along on Twitter at CBB Coast to Coast with the number 2. You see it on the screen for the video audience. If you're only hearing us on podcast or on the TuneIn streaming channel, CBB Coast, the number 2 Coast, CBB Coast to Coast is where you find us on Twitter. And again, it's a podcast on Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, and it is also on the TuneIn streaming channel called College Basketball Coast to Coast. We love all the coverage every March. So we're ready to see all of this unfold. I mean, we're anxious for 32 games on Thursday and Friday combined. I will actually be attending the Friday-Sunday pod here in Tampa, where the Florida Gators, as the number 1 seed in the South, are here. They're playing the late game on Friday night. Gators, off of that loss to Vanderbilt, may get a rematch after the SEC semifinal loss to Vandy in the Sweet 16. Is it going to be a Gator repeat? Brian Edwards has some feelings on that. He's a big-time Gator. Also here in the pod are Alabama and Texas Tech. They are actually in a different bracket, in the Midwest bracket, and Alabama damaged right now with Aiden Holloway being arrested on Monday on marijuana charges in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It doesn't look like Holloway, the second leading scorer, is going to be able to play for that game with Hofstra coming up on Friday afternoon here in Tampa, in downtown Tampa. So we'll talk more about all of these games in the preview mode. Later on, I'm going to touch on why you should take a strong look in your bracket. I'm here for the bracket advice on college basketball coast to coast. Why should you take a strong look at the 12 versus 5 matchup, the 12 seeds playing the 5 seeds? And traditionally, that is a powerful mid-major team playing against kind of a lesser power conference, SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Big East team. Look out for the mid-major guys that won their conference, that are strong enough to be in as a 12 seed, playing a team that's maybe not on that top line as a 5 seed. I guess it applies to St. John's with Northern Iowa, but be careful there. We're going to talk about all these 12-5 matchups and what might happen. McNeese against Vanderbilt, as well as High Point taking on Wisconsin, and the other 12-5 is here in Tampa with Akron and an injured Texas Tech team. I'll have a couple of stat nuggets for you a little bit later on in the show. But let's get this underway right now with one of our guests here on College Basketball Coast to Coast in this Wednesday preview, Adam Zagoria of NJ.com and his own zagsblog.com. Great insider in the Northeast region, covering the Big East, etc. He's going to be there in Philly with the UConn matchup with Furman in the opening round and all the games that are going to be going on in Philadelphia. But he's got thoughts on the Big East tournament win by St. John's, the coaching carousel, and more. Let's get to our conversation a little earlier on this Wednesday afternoon with Adam Zagoria right now here on the program. All right, been waiting for this because I needed a recap off of the St. John's Big East tournament win. History that Adam Zagoria was there for. No Big East teams ever back-to-back won the regular season and then followed up by winning the conference tournament championship as well, 2 straight years. St. John's has now done that. Good to have you kind of midweek. This is a little bit of the lull before the absolute mayhem that is that's going to unfold here with 32 games on Thursday and Friday. You look good as we can see each other. Tell me about what you saw on Saturday night with St. John's, that atmosphere, the whole bit as they got it done in the rubber match with UConn.
Yeah, look, for my money, TJ, the Big East tournament is still the best conference tournament in America. Obviously, the Big East overall was down this year. They only have 3 teams in the tournament. But, Rick Pitino, Dan Hurley, Madison Square Garden, capacity crowd Saturday night, it doesn't get much better than that. Obviously, the game didn't really live up to all the hype. St. John's won by 20. St. John's is playing their best basketball of the season and some of the best basketball in the country in recent weeks. They've beaten UConn 2 out of 3. They won back-to-back Big East tournaments. They had a tough win at Seton Hall. We talk about Rick Pitino all the time on here, but you really need to take a step back and just appreciate what this guy has done. I mean, just in the last 6 years, remember he went to Greece. He was in Greece for a few years after the Louisville thing. Just in the 6 years since he's returned from Greece, he's now won 2 Big East tournaments and 2 Big East regular seasons at St. John's, plus 2 MAC tournament titles and 2 MAC regular seasons at Iona. This is his 4th NCAA tournament in the last 6 years between Iona and St. John's. This is a guy who's taken 6 teams to the NCAA tournament, 3 to the Final Four. And, obviously they have a very tough bracket here. But, if he somehow makes history and gets through that East region, he's going to be going to yet another Final Four.
It is weird, though, and we're going to get to you covering the games on Friday in Philadelphia, but St. John's wins the Big East tournament and gets sent all the way to San Diego, even though it's an East regional. I believe, and I think you're going to agree with me, I thought they should have been a fourth seed. Had they been a fourth seed, the NCAA on their policies tries to protect the top four seeds and keep them closer to their region. But that, to me, that is crazy. As good as they were at the end of the regular season to win the regular season, win the tournament, and get sent to San Diego. How do you think, number one, weigh in on them being a five seed, and two, will it affect them to go all the way 3,000 miles away?
Yeah, it's definitely a curious, crazy deal. I mean, Coach Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K said this week that he said it never happens that you have two teams in the same league sent to the UConn.
Certainly the best two teams in the
Yeah,
league in the same
yeah.
region where
UConn
only
and
one of them
St.
can
John's.
emerge. Right, right.
Yeah, two best teams sent to the same region. I mean, you would never see that in the SEC or the Big Ten. He also thought it was, weird that St. John's is a five, and it's especially since the selection committee chairman said on TV Sunday night that Purdue was originally slotted as a three seed, but they moved them to a two because they won the Big Ten tournament and beat Michigan. So people saying that the conference tournaments don't matter, that's not what the selection committee said. They
Right.
said Purdue moved up to a two. So St. John's goes up and whoops up on UConn in the Big East tournament, and they stay a five. It's definitely weird. And yeah, now they're gonna have to go out to San Diego, which look, it's warm weather, it's nice. I'm sure they'll enjoy it, but they're there for business. And then if they win the first round game, you could get Kansas, St. John's in the second round, which is only three active coaches have won two championships: Bill Self, Rick Pitino, and Dan Hurley. So you could get Rick against Bill right away. And then, remember last year, Rick had to face John Calipari, another Hall of Famer in the second
Hmm.
round. And then if they win that, then they have to come all the way back east to Washington, D.C. So I think the St. John's thing is definitely one of the biggest storylines to come out of Selection Sunday.
Do you think I mean, you did mention it's all the way out there, it's warm weather, but do you think it will affect them, or do you think they will remain focused? This is a slow it down, grind it type Northern Iowa team, which might really play into St. John's hands. Will it affect them in your mind on Friday, the Johnnies?
I don't think so. I mean, again, they got a Hall of Fame coach. He's got them zeroed in on you have to win this one game. All the other teams, Kansas, High Point, they're all have to travel out there too. So they're all playing in, different gyms. Um, but that East bracket is just so fascinating, right? I mean, so many Hall of Fame coaches, future
Yes.
Hall of Famers, Izzo, Self, Patino, Shire, Hurley, and it's just
Yeah.
going to be fascinating to see how that bracket unfolds. I'll be in DC next week, and I mean, it's possible we could have a St. John's UConn matchup in the Elite Eight. That's seems unlikely on paper since you got Duke and Michigan State in there, but it's possible.
It certainly is. All right. So you mentioned UConn off the loss. What do we, excuse me, what do we make of them here at the end of the season? They had a loss to Marquette late in the year. They looked good at the beginning of the Big East tournament, beaten badly, though, on the Saturday night championship game. Should be a pretty easy game with Furman. We think Furman was the sixth seed that won the Southern Conference. Then again, we've seen 15s give twos problems in the past. What do we make of UConn for Friday
I
in
mean,
Philadelphia? What do you think?
first of all, they're playing at 10 o'clock at night on Friday. So if you want to add fuel to the Big East is getting no respect and no love, narrative, why the heck is UConn playing at 10 o'clock at night? I mean, by the time Danny rolls into the press conference, it's going to be 1:15, 1 o'clock in the morning. That's well past my bedtime. Um, and I guess one way to look at it is you get a Big East doubleheader where you get St. John's at 7 o'clock and UConn at 10. As far as the Huskies, I'm not going to make too big of a deal out of the fact that they got lit up and got their doors blown off by St. John's. It's one game. It was at the Garden. But yeah, you have to kind of wonder about this UConn team. They haven't looked great. They struggled turning the ball over against St. John's. There were possessions where they just couldn't even get the ball in bounds, and they struggled getting it in bounds. They really didn't shoot well. They need Mullins and Caravan, Solo Ball, Terrace Reed, all to play well. I think that second round game against UCLA could be really interesting. I mean, you have a little Jersey City, St. Anthony's storyline there with Darren Savino played with the Hurleys at St. Anthony's. But, UCLA has looked good of late. And if they get Donovan Dent and Tyler Bilodeau back, that
That's
could be
the
a
big.
great
Can
game.
we just pick up on that? That's the big thing. That's the unknown as we do this in the preview mode. Can both of them play? Can only one of them play? And even worse, if neither of them can play? I don't see them beating UCF without
Yeah.
either one of those guys. So we don't
Yeah,
know, right?
I was told by a school spokesman that they're expecting them both to play. It didn't look like the Dent thing was too serious when it happened. But, it's a part of a larger storyline, TJ, of there's a lot of injuries to really blue bloods, right? I mean, Duke is down two starters. UCLA's got some guys injured. UConn had some guys banged up. Yikes.
Michigan lost Kaysen, the other point guard,
Yeah.
to a knee injury.
Yeah, and
Texas
Lendabor,
Tech
JT
without
Toppin.
JT
Yeah.
Toppin. So you're right. The injury storylines are huge right now on who can play
Yeah,
with what available players.
Yeah, it's kind of like, in the NBA playoffs and the NFL playoffs, it's all about health and who goes in healthy and who can stay healthy.
No doubt. Okay, so we're amped up for all of this to unfold with the number one seeds being Duke, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida. We'll see how all of it unfolds. There's never a wrong time to be talking coaching carousel with you, and it continues to spin right now. Jobs coming open. Cincinnati obviously got rid of Wes Miller on the weekend. We've seen two or three other programs make the move, including in the Big East, where Providence got rid of Kim English. Bobby Hurley, obviously, Danny's brother, fired at Arizona State. Several of these. Adrian Autry fired at Syracuse. What do we make of the carousel right about now?
Yeah,
It's the lull, right? And it's about to get crazy.
it's funny, 'cause I wrote a little thing on NJ.com today, and I spoke to Bruce Pearl about it yesterday, because this is the time of year when you're going to have, there's about half a dozen coaches in the NCAA tournament who are going to coach Thursday and Friday, who are hot names on the carousel. Brian Hodgson at USF, Travis Steele at Miami, Jerry McNamara at Siena. Who else did I list there?
That's three good ones that are hot names
the
for
two
sure.
UConn assistants, Luke Murray and Kamani Young, Herb Sendek, Santa Clara. So you got a bunch of these guys who are, their agents are behind the scenes talking to other schools while they're, they have to coach their teams in the tournament. And then inevitably when the coaches get asked about it, they say, I'm the coach of so-and-so and I'm focused on the tournament. Although last year you had Will Wade blatantly just say, yes, my representatives are talking to NC State. And it came out during the tournament that he'd, basically come to terms with NC State while he was coaching McNeese. So to me, that's kind of the story within the story, is all these guys coaching while their agents are talking to people. Brian Hodgson was in position there for a while where both Syracuse and Providence were targeting him. Jeff Goodman reported last night Tuesday night, that, he turned down Syracuse. So I think Providence is still a possibility for Hodgson, and so is returning to USF.
Do you believe that he turned them down for good, or you've been doing this a long time and so have I? Did he turn them down for now because the offer maybe wasn't good enough? Do you think he's completely out of the picture for Syracuse? You believe
Yes,
that?
I think so. I think there's a little bit of a concern. Providence has a bigger NIL. I've heard 11, $12 million on the NIL at Providence, and at Syracuse, it's, a few million dollars lower than that. And I think I've heard rumblings that Hodgson, other coaches are concerned about the NIL situation at Syracuse. I also forgot to mention the Utah State coach, Calhoun,
Right.
is in the tournament. He's the front runner at Cincinnati. And then Scott Cross at Troy is, I think, a favorite or the favorite for the Georgia Tech job.
That would be an interesting one for him. Yeah. And
Travis Steele's been mentioned at Butler. So there's a lot of these guys.
And we always get one or two that are out of left field where we suddenly there's a prominent name that suddenly is at one of these jobs, and then that opens up the job where they were, the secondary opening on the
Yeah,
carousel. Stay tuned, right?
yeah, yeah.
So we'll see what happens on all of this with the coaching carousel. All right, are you ready? I mean, yours is not until Friday. In Tampa, it's also on Friday, but are we ready for 32 games Thursday and Friday? It's wild that we will already be down 32 teams after Friday night late, and then by the time we get to Monday, we're down to 16 teams.
Yeah.
So, are you ready for all this? You ready?
It's funny. There's a school of thought, as a reporter, like I know my friend Jeff Borzello at ESPN, I think his philosophy is he doesn't travel the first weekend to a site. He just wants to stay in one place and watch all the games, which I understand. I'm going to go to Philly, but I have to confess, like, I can't, I want to watch that St. John's game at 7 o'clock Friday night more than whatever the 7 o'clock game is in Philly. I think Miami,
That's
Ohio.
that's the UCLA UCF game, right? That'll be right before UConn.
Right. I
That'll
mean,
be the early one.
honestly, I'm more interested in St. John's, and then I think Miami, Ohio plays at 4:30. On that could be in Philly if they win, and then UConn will play at 10. So it's just a lot of kind of fun juggling of like, hey, what game am I going to watch? Where am I going to watch it? And the endings come at you so fast and
Sure.
fast and furious.
I still harken back where everybody didn't always have a laptop, didn't have a phone, and you would just have to watch the scores in the arena and then go check somehow, some way. Not the case anymore. You got a phone, you got a computer, you're watching two games while you got the game in front of you on the court. It's a different time.
You want to talk Final Four picks? Who you got in your Final Four?
At this point, I mean, I keep saying I believe there's an 80% chance we're talking all the one seeds. I really believe they're that much better. They are not invincible, especially against each other, Duke, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida. But I got a hard time buying that at least three of them, if not all four of them, are in Indianapolis. What do you think about the ones? Do they all get there? Does one go out? And if the one goes out, who is it? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, last year we had all four number ones, and I think that was sort of pretty cool, and it was a refreshing change from the year before when it was San Diego State, Miami, and wasn't the sexiest Final Four. I think a lot for Duke depends on the health of these two guys. I mean, if they get one of them back, they get the big kid back, that could help them. Because that's a tough region there. I mean, they're going to have to probably play, they have to play St. John's or Kansas, and then, UConn or Michigan State. And if they're not at full health, that's a lot to ask. I still have Duke coming through there, but there are people who think St. John's or Michigan State can beat Connecticut. I think Florida, that's an interesting deal in the South where they could play Houston in Houston.
That's correct.
And although Florida, looked great for most of the latter part of the season, they did stumble in the SEC to Vanderbilt. So I could see Houston upsetting Florida in Houston. I don't see Arizona or Michigan losing before the Final Four. I have Arizona winning the whole thing. I realize they haven't won it since 1997, but they're just so big and, score so many points in transition, deep.
Yep.
They have an excellent coach, great front court. So I think, again, we've talked history a little bit. A Big Ten school hasn't won it in 25 years since Michigan State. You've now got 3 or 4 Big Ten schools, Michigan, Michigan State, Purdue, Illinois, the same group every year that have a chance to win it. And, if they don't, then that's going to be a continuation of a trend where the Big Ten comes up short. And Arizona's certainly has as good a chance as anybody to win it. And if they don't, it's going to be since 1997 that a West Coast team
You got it.
Unless like UCLA wins.
We got a long way to go to watch it all sort out, but there is definitely this year more than most recent years a real, I would say, distinction between these four and how they have looked. I mean, just go back and look at the Michigan resume and how many double-digit wins. I know they lost the Big Ten title game on Sunday, but that's not the one that matters. What matters is what happens now. Look at all the teams they have dismantled, Michigan. And I know we're at the end of the season and maybe they're a little beat up with the injury to Kaysen, but That is scary to me coming out of that Midwest bracket. And stay tuned. Stay tuned on the Florida repeat. You know I'm in Florida, and all the talk from all the Gators everywhere is this is '07 all over again. It's going to be back to back like in '06 and '07 with Joakim Noah and Al Horford and Corey Brewer and Torian Green and Billy Donovan as the coach. Stay
I'll tell
tuned.
you,
We're about to find out.
it would really be something if we have, back-to-back Florida titles after back-to-back UConn titles.
It would be crazy, and we'll see. I mean, again, Florida has been hammering teams in the SEC. Will it translate now in the NCAA tournament? We're about to find out. I know this guy translates. Let us catch up on the weekend. We'll read you in NJ.com, Adam Zagoria. We'll read you as well on the Zags blog, especially with the recruiting stuff, the coaching carousel, etc. I always love having you on college basketball coast to coast here in the preview mode. Let's get ready for 32 games, my friend, on Thursday and Friday.
Enjoy the madness, and we'll be poolside in Indy before you know it.
Little inside joke for he and I. We always seem to be around the pool in and around the Final Four. I thank Adam for hanging out here with us as an insider on college basketball coast to coast. If you're just finding me on this Wednesday, we're doing the show live via the social platforms of college basketball coast to coast on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. You may be hearing the show later on as well via a podcast outlet like Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. It's also streaming as a preview show on the TuneIn channel, College Basketball Coast to Coast as well. Partnered up with TuneIn. Various different ways to hear the program. And I again say, make sure that you are all subscribed up. I put it up on the video screen here for the video audience to find us on YouTube, find us via Facebook. The Twitter handle again is College Basketball Coast to Coast at CBB Coast, the number 2 Coast, CBB Coast to Coast on social media. The TuneIn streaming channel, it's free to hear. Go to the TuneIn app, tunein.com, put College Basketball Coast to Coast. You can hear all of the preview and recap shows. I'll be live at the Final Four in Indianapolis with my guests and my colleagues that are doing a great job all over the country from Indianapolis once we get there with the 4 members that are there. So find us on College Basketball Coast to Coast on all the platforms. Subscribe up on the YouTube channel. Hit the like button. Do the same thing with the Twitter handle. Subscribe up and hit the like button. We love all of that. Got another guest coming up with a little handicapping insight in a few moments. First, let me tell you about our friends at Kalshi. Let's talk about them. The predictive markets are alive and electric for NCAA tournament time with Kalshi. Again, if you are somebody that is interested in futures plays, whether we're talking about Final Four, national champion, who might end up pulling off an upset or two, Kalshi, the Kalshi mobile app, Kalshi.com. It is free to get into these predictive markets, and they're different. I was talking with somebody last night. He's like, well, how is this different than gambling through a sports book? And I said, great question with Kalshi, because it's the actual voting of people that are subscribers and are actually participating on Kalshi. It's not a sports book setting an artificial number, much less on a prop on an either or. It's actual fan or user opinions. So in other words, the strong opinion might be that Duke is going to make the Final Four over Florida. That's not a sports book like DraftKings or FanDuel or the Hard Rock Bet app in Florida or BetUS, BetUS.com putting it out. Kalshi does it with a predictive market. And the predictive markets are everywhere for everything. Politics, entertainment. You should have seen how crazy it was going for the Oscars the other night. Who was going to win what award? What kind of outfit somebody was going to have on. Pop culture, music, etc. But we love the sports and we love the March Madness right now in the predictive market. So go and participate. And maybe you want to wager against the predictive market because the predictive market is swinging too far for one side or the other, like the predictive market that says the Duke's going to win the national championship. And right now that predictive market is like 55% of those doing the voting on Kalshi believe that's going to happen. Maybe you're going to go the other way and go against that. If you are, remember our promo code, the Kalshi promo code is TJ Hoops. It gets you $10 to wager with. No obligation. Kalshi's available in all 50 states, wherever you're seeing us. It is free. It is legal to get in on, and we'll give you $10 to wager with if you want with the promo code TJ Hoops. TJ Hoops on the promo code on the sign up. Kalshi mobile app takes a couple of minutes to download and sign up. Go check out these predictive markets. It's wild what all is there. And the promo code again is TJ Hoops that gets you $10 off of signing up and being able to wager and participate with Kalshi. Okay, a couple of other things, and we'll get to our guest, Brian Edwards of MajorWager.com. He is going to talk about the USF Bulls. They are back in the big dance for the first time since 2012, only the second time in this century. Here we go. Mrs. Rives is a Bull, and we're looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to do. Full disclosure, I worked the Bulls games with Jim Lighthall for 10 years, 1997 to 2007. Jim has gone on for another 18 years after I left to be the play-by-play man, 28 years for him. Good on him that he gets to be part of what's going to happen in that regional matchup in the East Regional with USF and Louisville. The Bulls an 11 seed, the winners of the American Conference regular season and conference tournament. No Mikael Brown, the outstanding guard for Louisville. I'm going to talk more with Brian Edwards, though, about this coming up here and about the matchup. It's in Buffalo on Thursday afternoon, so I already know some Bulls that have made their way out of the Tampa Bay area where I'm based to head up to Western New York. Our buddy Sal Capaccio is up there. Sal Sports, great Buffalo personality, Buffalo Bills sideline reporter on their broadcast. He was saying, hey, what kind of crowd is coming up here? And I said, there's going to be a few hundred Bulls that make their way up to Buffalo, not the Buffalo Bills, but to Buffalo for the USF Bulls and for that matchup. So Brian Edwards and I will talk more about that game. That's an 11-6 matchup in this tournament. And I was touching on this. I'll go ahead and pay this off before we talk with Brian. If you're looking for upsets in the four brackets, your 12 seeds are McNeese playing Vandy in the South, Northern Iowa playing St. John's, and we were just talking about that with Adam, out west in San Diego. Even though it's an East bracket game, the game is out west. The other 12 fives are High Point and Wisconsin. Brian Edwards is going to talk more about that game in a few minutes. Wisconsin has been fantastic down the stretch of the Big Ten season. And the other 12-5 is Akron and Texas Tech. Here's what you need to know, all right? It seems like almost every year in this tournament that a 12 knocks off a 5. They have had recent success. How about in the last 26 NCAA tournaments that have been played, 22 times a 12 seed has beaten a 5 seed. And part of this is you get a mid-major program like Northern Iowa, like High Point, like Akron, and you place them in against a Power 5 program, SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Big East, and it's kind of a mid-range program in one of those conferences, and the mid-major is ready to go. Akron is ready to go. Northern Iowa is ready to go. McNeese is ready to go. McNeese pulled off the upset last year of Clemson in a 12-5 game. So a year ago, there were 2 number 12 seeds at one, including Colorado State beating my Memphis Tigers, and I don't know that Penny Hardaway's team, my alma mater, has ever recovered from taking that loss. So those were 2 12-5 upsets a year ago. So if you're looking for upsets in your brackets, look for the 12-5 upset. 2 years ago, James Madison as a 12 did beat Wisconsin as a 5 seed, Greg Gard's team, and Grand Canyon knocked off St. Mary's in the 12-5 game. Grand Canyon was the 12 playing out west. So that's 4 of them the last 2 years. And you go back to 2019, you also had multiple 12 seeds that were able to get a win. Multiple 12 seeds in 2014 got a win. 22 of the last 26 years, a 12 seed has beaten a 5 seed. So if you're filling out these brackets, you need to default to at least one 12 seed that is likely going to win the game. Forget about the point spread or just keeping it close. They're likely going to win. So stay tuned on the 12-5 matchups as part of the discussion here on college basketball coast to coast for all of the upsets. I know there was another great stat, too. Steve Carney was telling me about this on another podcast. We did the Last Word on Sports Media podcast, and he had this nugget that he had seen online. When it comes to the first 8 games being played tomorrow in the NCAA tournament on Thursday, the first 8 of the barrage of 32 games, in every one of the last 13 tournaments, it's not 13 full years because there was no NCAA tournament in 2020. So the last 13 tournaments going back to 2012 now. 13 tournaments ago. In the first 8 games, there's been at least one double-digit seed win the game. I say again, right out of the chute, the 4 early games at noon Eastern time, adjust your time zone accordingly, followed by the 4 games after that in the afternoon. Of those 8 games, every year, a team with a 10 or lower next to their name has won a game. And some years, it's multiple teams seeded 10 or lower winning one of the first 8 games of the tournament. All right, so you ask, what are the first 8 games of this tournament coming up? We're going to talk more with Brian Edwards about these specifically, but I'm just going to roll call the first 8 games out of the box and where they are on Thursday. TCU and Ohio State are up first. The first game of the tournament, with that one being played in Greenville, South Carolina. Troy and Nebraska. So TCU, Ohio State, by the way, doesn't apply. That's an 8-9 game. Troy and Nebraska playing in Oklahoma City. Troy is the 13 seed. And you're going to hear Brian talk more about that game. This is part of the first 8 games coming on Thursday. USF, South Florida, and Louisville. That's an 11 against a 6 in Buffalo. That would apply in the first 8 games. High Point, Wisconsin, being played on Thursday in Portland. First game up in Portland. That's just before 11 a.m. local time. Can High Point hang in? We'll see. Siena as the 16 seed with Duke is part of the first 8 games. So is 12 seed McNeese against Vanderbilt. So if you believe in the whole 12-5 thing, you got High Point playing Wisconsin in Portland and McNeese and Vanderbilt playing in Oklahoma City. In the first 8 games, is a 10 seed going to win? The final 2 pieces of that are North Dakota State and Michigan State in Buffalo. North Dakota State's a 14 seed. And Hawaii as the 13 seed playing against Arkansas in Portland. I don't know about that one. Hawaii's got size. They're athletic. Maybe they can keep it close, but I don't think they're beating Darius Acuff and Arkansas. So I say again, your double-digit seeds in the first 8 games for Thursday are Troy as a 13 against Nebraska, USF as an 11 against Louisville, High Point as a 12 against Wisconsin, Siena as a 16 against Duke. Siena's not beating Duke. McNeese as a 12 seed against Vanderbilt, North Dakota State as a 14 seed against Michigan State, and Hawaii as a 13 seed against number 4 Arkansas. Out of those games that I just mentioned, probably one double-digit seed is going to win. The last 13 tournaments, it's happened. So just keep that in perspective while we talk this on the March Madness. All right, why don't we get some more perspective? Brian Edwards of MajorWager.com. He joined me a little while ago, just before I began this show live, to give me some insight on the handicapping perspective. He's got some upsets. We're going to talk about Miami of Ohio tonight. Then he's got some upset-minded teams and some lines to go over for Thursday and for Friday. Plus, he's a big Florida Gator guy as a handicapper. What about Florida's chances to repeat? We'll talk with Brian Edwards right now about all of those subjects and more as college basketball coast to coast doth continue. Okay, it's about to get real with 32 games Thursday and Friday. Hello again, Brian Edwards. We love his insight, MajorWager.com. Southeastern 16 on the YouTube page for all the SEC content. More picks on VegasInsider.com as well. I love him as a handicapper. He is my kindred spirit. We're a similar age. We love the nostalgia of the NCAA tournament and how crazy. This man can speak the language of like Steve Alford and Keith Smart beating Ronnie Cycli and Sherman Douglas in the Superdome. You speak that language. You can move forward to the Duke back-to-back, winning the national championships over UNLV and over Michigan. You move forward to all the games in the 2000s, the 2010s. I love that about Brian Edwards. And now here we are in 2026 talking about all this. How are you, my friend?
I am good. Thanks for having me. I'm still bitter about the 1987 Sweet 16 game in the Meadowlands when Ronnie Cycli scored 33 points on the late Dwayne Shinchis.
Yes, he did.
Derek Coleman made an incredible block shot on Andrew Moten, a good friend of mine from my hometown, that switched the momentum of that game. Florida's up 5 with like 5.5 minutes left. Drew's going in for a bucket. Coleman comes out of nowhere and swats it. He was so skinny his freshman year. And they throw it down to Greg Monroe, who gets an and one on Vernon Maxwell, and that completely flipped the game, and Syracuse won by 6.
You've got to overcome the bitterness with the fact that Florida won the national championship in back-to-back years in 06 and 07, and they are the reigning defending champions this year. You can let the bitterness from 40 years ago go, my friend, from that. But I love the nostalgia. I love that about you.
Drew's a family friend, man. It was his senior year, so it'll always hurt.
The short pants that everybody had back in the day, the whole bit, and the three-point shot was just becoming a thing.
That was the first year, 87.
Yes. Shot clock wasn't a thing really as of yet. It was a 45-second clock. It's now a 30. It's now a 30-second shot clock. We love the nostalgia. Let's get into the present, shall we? It's all about to be here. First of all, first 4 game with Miami of Ohio. I don't remember if I got your take in the last couple of weeks when we had you on. What about them in this spot as we do it live? Again, if you're hearing us on Thursday, Friday-ish in the preview mode, you already know whether Miami of Ohio got boat raced because they haven't played anybody all year. Did they hang close? Did they win with SMU? What do you make of this? A, them being there, deservedly or not, and B, what kind of chance do they have now that they are there in this game in Dayton, not far from their campus with SMU?
They absolutely deserve to be there. And look, all the bubble teams were garbage. If there's ever been a year where I don't think one bubble team, I don't think there were any snubs. I mean, the bubble was so bad this year. So as for tonight, I think Miami of Ohio is going to cover. I've taken them plus 7.5. And, back this past weekend, it really sounded like B.J. Edwards, a very good guard for SMU, who averages 12.7 points, 5.9 rebounds, 4.9 assists, and 2.3 steals per game. It sounded like he was going to play, but he's listed as questionable. So I'm starting to think that, A, they may think that they can win without him and get that ankle more rest. But even if he does play, it doesn't sound like he's been practicing full speed. Where's his cardio going to be? And they've struggled without him. They are 1-5 straight up, 2-4 against the spread since he got hurt. And so I like Miami of Ohio.
But what's interesting is Keith Gill, the head of the selection committee, mentioned SMU getting in and said that it was their understanding that SMU told them Edwards is going to be available. He's going to play. Here we go again. Whether it's Mick Cronin and UCLA tell them, Bilodeau's going to play, Dent's going to play, whoever it is, if somebody's questionable, of course they're going to tell them they're going to play. But if that guy's not there, it bolsters Miami a little bit. What do you make of the argument that I just kind of laid out briefly to tee you up? They haven't played anybody. This is the truth. It's a great story, but they haven't played anybody in the top 50. They're about to play a team that's repeatedly played teams in the top 50 in the ACC. How much is that going to matter in this game?
Well, look, I mean, I don't know the facts on whether they tried to play a lot of teams because, a lot of these mid-major teams that are going to be good, a lot of the high majors don't want to play them. I mean, Miami of Ohio won 25 games last year and brought back a good, roster. So a lot of teams might have known. I looked at, they played at Michigan and at another big school last year. So I don't know if teams refuse to play. I don't know what the deal with that is. But look, they won outright in all 4 underdog spots. The only team they played that's in the tournament is Akron. They did beat them 76-73. And look, they got a lot of offense. So even if they fall behind, I think the back door could be open. So I think they'll hang. And look, SMU's not playing good ball right now. The only win in their last 6 games without Edwards was against a bad Syracuse team.
Right.
So I like the Red Hawks catching 7.5.
And maybe a lot of points in that one. Okay, so you are ready for a barrage of early games on Thursday. 2 or 3 of them stand out for you immediately on the Thursday 16-game slate. Where are you going first and why, Brian?
Man, I love this Troy team. They are very, very good. Okay, Theo Sang, who's missed the last 6 games, is going to be back. He's been practicing the last 5 days. So that's big. He averages 12.8 points. Or no, I'm sorry. He averages 12.9 points and 5.8 rebounds per game. But without him, this kid, Jarrell Bellamy, really stepped up while he's been out. In fact, during the Sun Belt tournament, Bellamy averaged 18.5 points and 3 block shots per game and 2.5 steals. So with increased minutes, his confidence has been bolstered. Casual fans are going to love these redheaded brothers for Troy, the Campbell brothers. They can both shoot the three, and they are both scrappy. And they've got a point guard in Victor Valdez, who's 6'7", 235. He does not look like a point guard, but he is. 15 points a game, 4.5 assists. This guy can play. And then there's Thomas Dowd, a double machine, who was held scoreless, although he had 11 rebounds in the first round loss to Kentucky last year. So he's looking to make amends for a poor offensive performance last year. Nebraska got off to the great start, and I like this Nebraska team in general, but they have struggled here down the stretch. Only 6-6 straight up, 5-7 ATS in the last 12. Troy's been an underdog 8 times, 6-2 ATS, 5 outright wins, 1 outright by double digits over Akron, who's in the tournament, 1 outright at UAB as a 6.5-point dog, went to San Diego State and won in double overtime as a double-digit dog. And then 2 nights later, after a double overtime game, in their 4th game in 7 days in the state of California, they went to triple OT with USC, had the ball in the lead in the last 10 seconds and committed a bad turnover, and USC made a wild buzzer beater to beat them. But they've played some good teams. They've hung in. I like Troy a lot, plus 13. I did a baby play on the money line at plus 700, but if you have a FanDuel account, it's plus 740. Love Troy catching double digits.
And this is a situation in the arena in Oklahoma City that, and we'll see this all over the place, if there's no true rooting interest, the fans will embrace the underdog and the upset-minded team. We see it over and over and over again every year. Maybe this is one of those situations in the early game. And how damaged psychologically is Nebraska? They've taken some losses late in the year, including did not play well in the Big Ten tournament in Chicago. You like another one in Tampa, where I am with Texas Tech. You're zeroing in on this game, or actually, I'm sorry, zeroing in on the Wisconsin game with High Point. You were interested in Wisconsin and High Point, that's all the way out in Portland. Forgive me on that, but you like the Badgers, and not just here, but as a futures play, I believe, as well.
I do. I love how they're playing, or I love how they've played all year. They could beat anybody in the country. They're 5-1 straight up and against the spread in their last 6. The only loss by 3 to Michigan. They've beaten Illinois twice, once on a neutral and at Illinois. They beat Sparty in mid-February by 21. They just beat Purdue in West Lafayette on March 7th. I like Wisconsin, a small, baby play. I mean, the Wisconsin-Arkansas game in the round of 32 might be the best game of the whole tournament, and whoever wins that game is going to give Arizona fits. I think it's worth a small play, 125-1 on Wisconsin to win it all, and or 17-1 to make the Final Four. But I'm going to lay the 10 against High Point with the Badgers. I also have a small play, minus 5.5 in the first half.
Interesting. I'm teeing it right up for you here. You're on Southeastern 16 and the video content with those guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. Arkansas won the SEC tournament, and they won it on Sunday. And the committee said, not only are we going to send you all the way out to Portland because I guess we have to fill out a bracket, but you're going to be on the floor in the afternoon on Thursday. Basically 3.5 days later, you're playing a game-ish. So to me, that's a snub. Yeah. Any thought on that? I mean, it's one thing if they were playing on Thursday in the Eastern time zone or the Central time zone, but to put them all the way out in Portland and put them in the daytime on Thursday, that's a bit of a stretch for Calipari's team. I'm saying that. What is your take?
I hate it. They do it all the time. Same with South Florida. Now they don't have to go out west, but they got to play in Buffalo on Thursday. They played Sunday. They got to play the earliest game of the afternoon session. And I don't want to hear the nonsense about, they've got to put it in a computer and, get shipped to certain locations and all. I mean, why can't they be the night session? I mean, why do they got to be in the afternoon session? Like, come on. I don't want to hear that nonsense. I remember when Georgia, the tornado year, when they had to play 2 games in one day and played 4 games in 4 days, they had to play in the afternoon session on Thursday after that, marathon.
The craziness, yes.
Yeah, that was nonsense. They do it every year. So it stinks for them. But even with that, I like South Florida against Louisville on Thursday in an early game. I got 5.5 early in the week. The news coming down, Mikael Brown's out for Louisville, so it's moved to 4.5, but I still like it at 4.5. If you want to get some plus 175 money line, I'm not against it. Go ahead.
I am concerned for only one thing. I know no Brown, but South Florida has been on the run they've been on. They've won 12 in a row. And look, full allegiance here. I'm doing it live on the show with Brian on the video show. Mrs. Rives is a Bull. I'm here in Tampa. I used to do the Bulls games on the radio. Brian knows this, for 10 years from 1997 to '07. I would love to see them win, but I'm concerned with Conwell and some of the other weapons that Louisville has, that South Florida hasn't played a team of that caliber really the last couple of months. They did play Utah State at home in an out-of-conference game and beat them in January. But when you're beating up on my bad Memphis Tigers and you're beating up on Charlotte and you're beating up on UTSA and some of the teams they were playing, my concern is the step up here. Go ahead. You obviously like the Bulls, but go ahead and address that.
No, and I hear you. But look, Louisville, they have struggled all year when Brown has been out, and of late. I mean, he had a little stretch where he missed 5 or 6 games, like I want to say late December-ish or early January, and they struggled then as well. I mean, he's one of the best players in the country. 18.2 points, 4.7 assists, 1.2 steals per game. Louisville in its last 8, only 4-4 straight up, 2-6 ATS. And South Florida, like you said, the run they're on, they've won 11 in a row. They're 19-3 straight up in their last 22 since they lost at Bama. 14 of those 19 wins by 11 or more. The outright losses by 5 combined points, 2 of them in overtime. I get your point, and you're always going to have concerns when you're playing an underdog, but I like the Bulls.
They definitely they are one of only, I believe, 2 teams in the country that have 2 3-point shooters, Pinion and Wes Enos, that have both made 100 threes this year. There's going to be volume of threes. Isaiah Nelson, the big man. It's going to be a lot of fun. South Florida last in the tournament in 2012, 14 years ago, only in the tournament for the second time this century. It's been a while. Yeah. Let's see what the Bulls can do with that one. Anything else on the Thursday slate? That's a lot of the early games. Anything else later in the evening on Thursday, or do you want to move on to Friday and what might be there on Friday? Did you have anything else that stood out on any of your stuff?
Just real quick, TCU plus 2.5. Both Ohio State's playing well also, but TCU 9-2 straight up, 8-3 against the spread in their last 12. They just beat Iowa State. They just went to Texas Tech on the road and won by 8 as an 8.5-point dog. They beat a Cincinnati team that was hot down the stretch. The Frogs have been underdogs 11 times this year, 8-3 ATS, 5 outright wins, including a win on a neutral in San Diego against Florida. And the day after they beat Florida, no letdown, they beat Wisconsin by 11. Yeah. And Jamie Dixon, plenty of tournament experience, 14 career wins in the tournament. Jake Diebler making his head coaching debut in the tourney.
And so, for the record, you're picking in all 4 of the games early. You're picking all 4 games. You got 3 underdogs. You got 3 underdogs, and then Wisconsin is your lone favorite that you're going for at the 4 different sites. I just have you here for a couple of more moments because I know you're busy. Friday. I know we're all the way to Friday. What stands out of the 16 games? A game or two, a future from a team Friday? I know your Gators are here in Tampa. They should roll. We're going to see what Arizona does on Friday. What stands out about Friday? A surprise, an upset, a futures play, anything?
I don't love much, or I don't really love anything on Friday. I'm probably going to be doing a lot of live betting and, follow my Twitter as I'll be tweeting those out. But I haven't done it yet, but look, any Alabama over under that's in the 150s is attractive regardless of the absence of Holloway. The only thing that concerns me is Hofstra per KenPom, number 317 out of 365 D1 teams in tempo. So they slow it down, but Alabama speeds you up. And over 159 is probably what I'm going to be on, and maybe a little bit on Bama's team total over 85.5. But I don't like much on Friday.
The Santa Clara Kentucky game, I see 160.5. I could easily see that game like 85, 84, 90, 89. I don't know anybody stops anybody in Kentucky, Santa Clara, the first game up on Friday in St. Louis in the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I would need to go study Santa Clara's totals before I gave an opinion with conviction. But all these SEC teams have been playing a ton of overs all year. But maybe that changes in the tournament. We'll see.
Hey, one more, and we were talking earlier with Adam Zagoria about this as our Big East insider, our guru. St. John shipped all the way out to San Diego after winning the Big East tournament, and they're playing an opponent that wants to go slow, play low tempo, half court basketball. Is that an underplay that you would look at? 131.5, which indicates, score something like 65, 63, something like that in the game. Northern Iowa, St. John, San Diego might be interesting for Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Northern Iowa's profile here. I mean, they're number 363 out of 365 in tempo, number 319 and average possession length, and they're 24th nationally in defensive efficiency. I could very much see that being a grinder game, but
Yeah.
with such a low total. Not that I think it's going to go to overtime or if you get a foul fest late. But if I had to pick it, I would definitely say under.
All the way out in San Diego for all the New Yorkers. Before I get you out of here, I know with the understanding it's your Gators, they're looking for the repeat. Does this remind you of 07 and the repeat with Horford and Noah and Brewer and Billy Donovan? Does this situation remind you of what we were seeing?
It certainly was until the Vanderbilt game on Saturday. But I like Florida's chances. I got in at 25-1 like 4 months before the season started. So I'm pulling for my boys. I just a slightly concerned, that Lee and Boogie did not play well because they had that long stretch in November into December a little bit where they weren't playing well and their confidence in their shot was not there. I just hope that last week, because we played offensively horrible in the Kentucky game, even though we won. We played great defense that game, but we played terrible offensively for 2 games. So I'm worried a little bit about the carryover, but hopefully I think just one game, shoot the ball well. I think they'll be right, back in that because they were hot as a firecracker.
Yes, they were.
And Vandy's good, man. Vandy's really good. How about maybe seeing them again in the Sweet 16?
Maybe.
Yeah, and then we might have to play Houston in the Elite Eight in Houston. But with that said, I wouldn't want Arizona's path. Arizona's got a brutal path. I mean, I think, Florida and Arizona are the 2 best teams in the country, in my opinion. But Arizona's got a brutal path, and Florida might have to see Vandy again or play Houston in Houston. So it's the tournament, man. Who knows?
No doubt. Listen, love the insight. Again, majorwager.com online content. Follow him at Vegas B. Edwards on social media. Vegas B. Edwards for Brian Edwards. Southeastern 16 on YouTube as well. My friend, are you ready for 32 games Thursday and Friday? We ready to dig into all of this?
I am.
I love it. Brian Edwards, thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you having me, man. Have a good one.
Love Brian's insight. Again, follow him at Vegas B. Edwards on social media for his social media posts. He's got a lot of great information, as well as majorwager.com on the different games. I'm going to get out of here shortly on the preview. Let's tell you about another one of our sponsors that help us keep going here, and that is Rexing USA. If you are looking for a dashboard cam, in particular, if you are a rideshare driver or if you know somebody that's a rideshare driver, put them on to Rexing USA and their top-of-the-line dashboard cams, 4K technology. In fact, it's synchronized for the dashboard and a rear-view camera with Rexing USA. It's rexingusa.com to find out more about these dashboard cameras. Do you realize that if you are in an accident, video enhances your argument and your chances to win your case if there's a dispute over whose fault it is or what happened? It enhances it 3 times, 5 times is more likely if you have video proof of what happened. And Rexing USA can supply that with their video cameras and their technology. They've got a winter sale that is still going on. Right now, they've kept it until March. It's still winter in the Northeast and a lot of the upper Midwest right now. So the winter sale still exists. Use RexingUSA.com to peruse that winter sale and then take another 10% off with our promo code HOOPS on all their products. Rexing USA is the #1 company right now in dashboard video cameras. I bet you didn't know that. They have top-of-the-line equipment. And again, if you want the synchronized front and back video camera, in particular, their technology is so good that this thing can be on for 24 hours with motion sensor capability. In other words, your car is parked like out in a parking lot and you're gone, and somebody comes and messes with it, trying to get in it, break in it, steal it, whatever. These cameras will come to life with motion sensor technology with Rexing and Rexing USA. Go to rexingusa.com to see the video cameras on the dashboard and the backup camera on the back of the car, etc. They also have other technology as well, like body cameras for law enforcement officers. They have cameras out for hunting if you're out in a tree stand, etc., and you're not there for an extended period of time and you want a video. When are the animals walking around, at what time, day or night? Infrared cameras as well for nighttime vision. Rexing USA, and our promo code is HOOPS right now for all of our March Madness coverage. HOOPS gets you 10% off more. You're going to save hundreds and hundreds of dollars right now on these products with their winter sale, and take another 10% off with hoops.com. It's Rexing USA for the video camera technology. Our video audience is seeing it on the screen right now. Explore those dash cams, the rear view cams, the synchronized ones, the packages they have, the 4K cameras, the digital quality of the video. It's Rexing USA, promo code HOOPS for an additional 10% off. All right, I'm excited for all of this to unfold here on Wednesday and Thursday. Let me remind you, on college basketball coast to coast will be coming your way with preview shows, recap shows all throughout the weekend. I look forward to covering the first and second rounds of action in Tampa. That is the South Regional games with Clemson and Iowa in the 8-9 game. Florida to play the winner of the Wednesday night Prairie View Lehigh game in the 1-16 game. And then you also here in Tampa have the matchups in the Midwest bracket with Alabama and Hofstra. Again, Alabama without Aiden Holloway, the second leading scorer, arrested for possession of more than 2 pounds of marijuana without the legalized stamp and procedures being gone through. So Holloway apparently will not play the second leading scorer. How much more of a threat does that make Hofstra in this matchup? Stay tuned for that. For that game coming up in Tampa on Friday afternoon. And likewise, Texas Tech will play the MAC champion Akron. Akron won the tournament after Miami of Ohio was beaten in the quarterfinal round. So Akron is the tournament champ. They're the 12 seed. Here we go back again to those 12 versus 5 matchups. The upsets are common. I say again, in each of the last 2 NCAA tournaments, 24 and 25, 2 of the 12 seeds have won the game outright. Is it going to be Akron here in Tampa with Texas Tech? Is it going to be McNeese with Vanderbilt? Is it going to be High Point with Wisconsin? I'm not so sure. What about that St. John's game we keep talking about with Northern Iowa? I don't know about that one. But one of them, if not a couple of them, is going to come close to winning, if not winning the game in the 12 versus 5 matchup in the brackets. All right, good luck with all your predictions, all your selecting. My thanks to Adam Zagoria for being with me here on College Basketball Coast to Coast of this preview show headed into Thursday, Friday. Also, Brian Edwards of MajorWager.com and also Southeastern 16. Those are my guests for today. We've got much more on the way, whether it's here on the social media platforms of College Basketball Coast to Coast, the podcast platforms through Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, College Basketball Coast to Coast, the pod, or on the TuneIn streaming channel. Go hear us on TuneIn streaming with the preview mode, the recap mode, all the way through the Final Four. College Basketball Coast to Coast is on TuneIn. Go find us there as well. I am merely TJ Rives. Let's get ready for all of the action. 32 games on Thursday and Friday. You've been with me in the preview mode. Let's get ready to see what happens in those games and come back in the recap mode on the weekend and off the weekend. It is college basketball coast to coast.